So it's like, a real high stakes political drama unfolding around the Iran Israel war, right? Iran's supreme leader is basically flipping the bird to US threats while, Trump makes some wild confessions about his country's role in the conflict.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's really something, the way Trump casually drops these details and claims, almost like a confession, that the US might formally join Israel to target Iranian nuclear facilities.
Right? And what really stands out is that Iranian supreme leader's defiance. It's almost like he's unbothered by the threats coming from the US, which is quite a bold stance.
And I mean, when you consider that these statements are being reported by independent sources like Jantaka Reporter, it definitely brings an extra layer of intrigue.
Yes, exactly. It's like there's a counter narrative here. Trump's confession, packed with what appear to be admitted falsehoods, and the supreme leader's defiant posture, almost dismissively shrugging off, any kind of intimidation.
Right. Speaking of these so-called confessions, isn't it interesting how the media, especially mainstream outlets, let a lot of these questionable statements slide by without much challenging them?
Yeah, that's a crucial point. It seems like during the press coverage, many of Trump's outlandish claims were not really dissected. It's as if a lot of lies just went unchecked, and it highlights a serious flaw in media critical analysis.
Exactly. And it really makes you kind of wonder what narrative is being preferred over the truth. Like, why wouldn't the media say press back on those confessed lies?
Yeah, it almost feels like they might be inadvertently endorsing these misstatements. It's like a double edged sword. While Trump gets his moment of dramatic revelation, no one seems to be saying, hey, hold on a minute, that's not right.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it a bit concerning that such high-level political maneuvers and confessions are getting, such a muted response?
Absolutely. And when you combine that with the fact that the Supreme Leader is issuing these bold, defiant remarks, it's almost like you're seeing two different realms of power playing out.
Right. It's like, on one hand, you have this tough, unmoved leader whose stance makes it clear that US threats aren't ruffling his feathers at all. And on the other hand, you have this rather rambunctious leader who almost confesses to half-truths and outright lies.
Exactly. And it sometimes sounds like a theater performance, but with very real geopolitical consequences. It's like an actor admitting he played a role, yet the audience, the media, stays silent.
Indeed. And let's not forget that the source of all this is the Jantaka Reporter, which really emphasizes independent journalism. It's almost like they're trying to make sense of all this murky political theater.
Yeah, and that independent angle really lends credibility, because they're not just sticking to official press releases. They're actively uncovering these discrepancies in Trump's statements, which, adds an extra layer of skepticism for consumers
Right
of
on.
news.
But do you think these flaws in the media's response might cause long-term damage to public trust? I mean, isn't it almost like a betrayal of the public's right to a fully interrogated truth?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a crack in the very foundation of democratic discourse. When key figures, especially someone like Trump, make bold claims that simply don't hold water and the media doesn't call them out, it creates a dangerous precedent.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's also the irony of the Supreme Leader's defiance. While Trump is busy with his admissions, the Iranian leader is like stepping up with his own message of resistance. It's quite the juxtaposition.
Right, exactly. It's almost like two different worlds colliding. One where America is, in a way, caught in its own contradictions, and another where Iran is steadily reinforcing its own defiant image on the world stage.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned contradictions. I'd like to challenge this a bit. Do you think that by not challenging Trump's statements, the media is perhaps allowing those contradictions to seep into how the public perceives the reality of the entire conflict?
That's a really good point. It's like giving free rein to misinformation. If the media simply accepts these statements at face value without critical scrutiny, it essentially validates them in the public's eyes.
And that, in turn, makes it even harder to debunk false narratives later on. It feels like a vicious cycle where the truth gets lost in the noise of political spectacle.
Yeah, it's like trying to navigate a maze where every turn leads you deeper into a labyrinth of competing agendas. And with influential figures like Trump driving the narrative, it forces the media into a defensive or sometimes passive stance.
Exactly right. So, in a way, this whole episode is a critical reminder of how independent journalism, like that from Jantakar Reporter, is, well, absolutely vital in these times. It's like a watchdog that brings these issues back into focus.
Totally. It's absolutely essential. You know, someone has to break through the sanitized narrative and point out where the genuine discrepancies lie. And when leaders on both sides are so entrenched in their stances, it becomes even more necessary.
Now, it's also striking how this video, with its detailed transcript and even timestamps, almost forces viewers to, really look into the minutiae of what's being said. It's like forcing a deeper engagement than the typical soundbite.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've got to sit down and analyze the flow of information rather than just passively consuming headlines. And that slowly builds a more informed perspective.
And another thing that caught my attention is how this whole scenario seems to be a part of a larger pattern in international relations. Like, the more you peel back the layers, the more you see an undercurrent of strategic positioning that goes beyond just these individual statements.
Yeah, it really is a classic case of power politics. Trump's remarks, for instance, seem to be a calculated move designed to stir up a narrative, even if it means embellishing or lying about certain facts. And on the flip side, Iran's supreme leader's defiance reinforces a robust posture meant to signal resilience in the face of intimidation.
Right. And that dynamic creates a situation where, even if the truth is somewhat muddled, the actions and postures of these leaders send a strong symbolic message, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's like a metaphorical chess match where every statement and every gesture is a move on the board. And even if some moves seem reckless or unfounded, they're still intended to, tip the balance of perception.
Yep, exactly. What I find fascinating is that we're seeing a collision of grand narratives, the US stepping into a role of a global enforcer, while simultaneously, grappling with its own internal contradictions. And then you have Iran projecting an image of unwavering defiance.
Yes, it's a messy intersection of truth, deception, and political theater. And this is where independent voices in journalism really serve as a counterbalance to the mainstream narrative.
Very true. Now, I wonder, do you think there's any potential for a lasting shift in media practices given these kinds of revelations? Or are we stuck in this cycle?
Well, one would hope that exposure of these inconsistencies can lead to greater accountability. But it's also a tough call because, entrenched systems are resistant to rapid change.
Yeah, déjà vu. Right. It almost seems like there's a growing demand for media that doesn't just parrot official narratives, but actively interrogates them, much like Jantakar Reporter is doing.
Exactly. And that kind of investigative rigor is crucial, especially when the stakes are so high. When geopolitical stability is on the line, even minor misinformation can cascade into major distrust.
Indeed. In wrapping this up, it's clearly a reminder that in such a high-tension environment, both defiant political posturing and the critical role of independent journalism are indispensable components of the broader dialogue.
Absolutely. It's like every piece of this story feeds into a much larger conversation about power, responsibility, and truth in a complex global landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. And tackling these complexities head-on is probably the only way we can hope to navigate these turbulent waters, right?
Exactly. It's like having a compass in a storm. Thanks for this engaging discussion. It really made me think about all the layers behind these headlines.
Couldn't agree more.